Click the links for Odyssey, BitChute, join the channel, become valued member, support the channel on Coffee, the various other links, or to join the Telegram and Discord, which I just set up and riding that learning curve. Okay, so Gal Gadot, Joss Whedon, and that guy who played Cyborg. Yeah, I know he has a name, but like really, out of the three, nobody cares about that Cyborg guy. So making movies by Twitter committee, using social media to manipulate the directors. That's obviously going to be a new phenomenon. And who's a good guy in this and who's a bad guy? It's possible that in this case, it's just bad guys and worser guys. And just because someone's a victim in this case, they also have their part to play in the blame game. He does not seem like he's a respecter of women. Trying to say like bad and worse people in Hollywood. You look at Hollywood, the more these stories come out, which I'm glad they're coming out, the more you look at it and you're like, oh, these people are all horrible people. And to the point of any kind of support, even around the edges, any support of Hollywood in general, maybe we should not be giving them our money. Support something else, because it seems like at some point the structure is so infested that you just have to kind of burn it all down. Okay, so this is a recent phenomenon of using social media to run to social media. It doesn't matter. It's different industries. People are using social media in a way to manipulate other people. You just didn't have the tech and the saturation a few years ago. Yeah, for sure you had the tech. You had the tech technically, I don't know, in the late 80s, you had message boards, but it wasn't the saturation. It wasn't part of the culture. You didn't have cell phones in people's hands where they could, talk to somebody around the world, or you could, follow a celebrity. It just wasn't a thing. Kind of until, I don't know, within the past 15 years, certainly the past 10 years for sure, is it's saturation tech, and people care about this stuff when, caring about Hollywood. So at one time, doing what this Ray Fisher guy, the cyborg guy, is doing would kind of be a weird move to do, but now the power balance is shifting away from this hierarchy top down to something else where the actors can run to social media. And if they want to get an angry mob on their side, and if they have enough social credit points, they can do it. And it all depends on whether you're a social media darling or not. And is it good for films to have movies kind of be made or be pressured by committee? Who cares? Movies are over. That USS Hollywood ship has sailed far, far away. Abandon all hope. Movies now are just more to brainwash kids. You're better off making puppet cell phone videos than watching current globalist Hollywood propaganda. Hollywood seems like there are a lot of sociopaths in Hollywood or borderline personality disorder people who suddenly have the spotlight on them, and they realize, this isn't this current cultural environment it was 5 years ago. Things are different. You have to speak in newspeak if you're going to be. If you're going to be in the under the public eye. And really, a lot of celebrities, they're better off just being way, way off of social media. The Keanu Reeves method of don't touch anyone, or the Mike Pence method, never be alone with a woman. That's thinking at a higher level. It's like you have that reputation. If you have a reputation of never being unescorted with a woman, unchaperoned, alone with a woman, that's a very powerful reputation to have, because, you're never going to go out to dinner with anyone to talk business. You're never going to be in a private room. You already have that habit established. So the presumption is on the person. The other person has a greater burden to overcome, because you can be like, listen, there's no evidence of me ever being alone with somebody of the opposite sex. It's a very strong shield to raise. And the worst they can say is, if you behave yourself, you could trust women. It's like, well, what if they lie? As long as you have that reputation of the Mike Pence method or the Keanu Reeves method of never touching anyone, that's a pretty strong shield to have if you're in Hollywood, or if you're in the public eye in any regard. So, but it also amazes me that people still think Hollywood has something to offer in any capacity, as if they're suddenly going to turn things around and, I don't know, give you a Gremlins movie, straight out of 1986. That is not going to happen. Those days are long gone. All that is gone. That ended 20 years ago, at least. Maybe the Lord of the Rings trilogy was the last exception. Even when they made The Hobbit, they made The Hobbit a few years after Lord of the Rings. It's like, oh, The Hobbit is slowly getting woke. That trilogy they came out with, it was like an elf and a hobbit, where like you had scenes that weren't in the book. As soon as you got away from the book, you were headed for trouble. And now I think Netflix has a Hobbit show, or a Lord of the Rings show. It's going to be absolutely unwatchable. There's no point to any of this stuff. Go sailing instead. And the thing is, it's not even worth sailing for. Somebody talks about some movie, and I'm trying to think of, like, there was a lot of bombs that came out and a lot of near misses. And I'm trying to think about the movies that people like. Spider-Man, I think they like Venom too. For Venom Part 2, they like that one. And like, were they good? Or were they as good, or were they just good in relative ratio proportion to all the other garbage that's coming out? It's like, were they good in and of themselves? No. Spider-Man, that latest Spider-Man, no, it wasn't a good movie. It was good compared to Black Widow for sure, but it wasn't good compared to what Spider-Man should have been if it was filmed with this current tech, but filmed like 30 years ago. It would have been fantastic. So the Hollywood future kind of looks like nonstop POC, BLT, purse puppies who are fighting evil blonde men from, that conflict 80 years ago, 70 years ago. It's just never going to end. It's just an endless cycle of blonde-haired, blue-eyed guys as being the antagonist. Social media is allowing us to see how the sausage is made, and it's not pretty. How the Weinsteins of Hollywood make that movie magic with the child sacrifices to Moloch. A few years ago, all this stuff would be sub rosa, but now with social media, everyone associated with the show can simply go public with every accusation, as well they should. Like I said, accelerate it, burn it all down. Hollywood is a den of vipers and scorpions. Shine a light on Hollywood. Better yet, expose everyone there with a laser light focus and just burn it to ashes and reform something better. Hollywood is beyond saving. It is a house completely infested with globalist bad people, I'll say, to get around that algorithm. It is a sort of indicative of the state of the country. There's no religion, no dogma, no ethics or moral code. Arguing about sleeping with actors or students, you can't even say if something is right or wrong unless you have a moral framework that you can reference. With Epstein stuff, you can say that, yeah, sure, minors can't legally consent, so it's illegal. But Weinstein or Wheadon pressuring actresses to have sex is more of a gray area. Nobody says that you have to work with those guys, or you have to work with that movie company in general, or that you even have to work in films at all in any capacity. There are other things you can do. And the thing is, I'm not defending them by any means, but it's like people pretend to have some moral code only under certain circumstances. Well, what exactly are the rules? Where is this moral framework? Kevin Spacey was allegedly doing a bunch of things with those under the age of majority, but then he came out as BLT, so everyone just dropped the issue. Why does that BLT status make the abuse acceptable? Or is it because nobody cares about male victims, which is absolutely true? When there is no core religion or dogma, then the rules only apply as a popularity contest. You've effectively bypassed due process to form a witch trial. Again, I'm arguing the principle, not the practice, because I don't care. Accelerate the burning of Hollywood. Hollywood has painted itself into this woke corner with the concept of cultural Marxism, hashtag believe women or believe victims. It's like, that's nonsense right from the start. That doesn't make any sense. It's just a catchphrase. There's no foundation to it. It's something a child would come up with, and, pretty young child at that. That is, that's the whole point of due process, even aside from a legal setting. Evidence should also matter in the court of public opinion, but it doesn't. It's a mindless Twitter mob. Gal Gadot is good looking. Wheadon is very, very ugly. And the other guy, the cyborg guy, is good looking. So sheep on Twitter will just take Gal Gadot's side without examining the evidence. And, maybe Gal Gadot's a bit of a bad example because of her IDF history, and some people are sour on that issue. But you get the point. It's kind of good-looking people versus ugly. It's like there's a reason justice is supposed to be blind. Supposed to examine the evidence as impartially as possible. This is, I don't know if you're watching this screen, but he said he was powerless to resist some probably 110-pound actress sitting on his face. Yeah, you're about 250 pounds, and you're powerless to resist having sex with attractive people because you were not having relations with them. When he said he was younger, he was, I don't know, unattractive or something. Burn it all down and dance on their graves. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.